Hello, good evening. You're all very welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time to come out this evening.
It was already very grand to write a play about, social disadvantage. Yeah. But none of them had any understanding of it. They'd no real reality of it. And it was okay to kind of perform these pieces. But there wasn't really a dynamic as to that this was actual life. So it was certainly, in terms of certainly where I was coming from, I saw the potency of it. Certainly in terms of the people who were actually trying to break into the arts and who were being barred because they didn't have the, NUJ cards, or they didn't have the equity cards, or they didn't have the union cards, or they didn't have all of these kind of, 20 years of slavery before you become a Tesbian darling, broke open all that situation. And all of a sudden, visual artists, graphic artists, the thing became possible. And the idea of being an artist, and being able to express yourself in that way became very, very, very interesting. I suppose what really came out of it was a sense of your own identity, of your own making, which was reflected back to you and mirrored back to you as a very positive, good thing. That's what we needed.
The way in which communications really, particularly advertising, which we work in a chain, food chain if you like, and it's quite a vertically integrated, structured. And I think more and more what you're seeing is the fragmentation, which is what hit the audience, which in turn has hit the agency, is about to hit the supply chain. Because fragmentation really is another way of saying that, suddenly what once, was, hopefully compelling content, which has still definitely got a place, but there's now all this user-generated material. There's so much, and it's really the technology that's attached to content which allows people to search and find, to form groups, and to have a kind of an experience over the internet, which will involve creative content, but not in the way we do. So how we find our position in that, I think is going to be very interesting.
Is it fair to say that an awful lot of creativity and art comes from the outsiders rather than from the insiders?
Quite possibly, but I think going through all that was a nightmare for me. It wasn't until much later in my life I realised it was a blessing. So I think you are equally cursed and blessed. So, as I said, the native people have no word for art or work. So I think art coming from the outsider, I think I chose art as a career because I saw it as maybe the path for an outsider.
What's happening at the moment, and I know we're going to go on and talk a little bit more about technological disruption, is that, if you like, the world of journalism, which is rooted in the humanities and the idea of storytelling and creating a story and a narrative arc and so on and so forth, and that's what an article is coming to grips with the world of technology, which is really derived more out of concepts originally of mathematics and engineering and so on and so forth. But data is data, and you can actually tell all kinds of stories either using data tools like graphics and so on and so forth, or you can bring this data in and you can say, you mentioned white noise earlier, or Kevin mentioned white noise. In this fog of information, with this blizzard of data coming at us all the time, our job is to make sense out of it. So are there new ways in which you can make sense out of data? Well, is there a way in which you can make sense out of what has happened to this country over the last 5 or 6 years? Is there lurking within the data, the financial data, the government records, if you can get access to them, which is a problem sometimes, in the data about the behavior of population? Can you actually find new ways to tell stories that make sense, that explain to people why we are where we are right now, and perhaps what kind of decisions we might make to get to wherever it is we want to go in the future?